Hello, and welcome to my latest and greatest video. In this video, I am going to go through the three parts that I gave for the midterm in the MEEN 1005 class for what I think we're in the fall semester 2017. Yeah, that sounds right. So anyway, so you were given this PDF. It had the three parts in it. We had this block, a bottle, and this knob round thing. So I'll just start with the first one here. So I'm going to have this off screen so I can see the dimensions on it, but this is what I'm going to model. I will show you how I model in SolidWorks, which is just a little bit different than the book. And that's because I've been doing it this way since 2003 and I'm too old to change. So first thing we need to do is create a new part in SolidWorks. And then it doesn't matter which plane we begin with, so I'm going to start with the front plane and I'm going to do a extruded boss. And I'm going to start with the base. So I'm going to come up here, pick a rectangle with a center, put center coordinates in here. Just a habit that I have from the way I design it work. You could also put the origin in one of the corners too. It wasn't specified on a drawing where it had to be, so that's, I'm not going to grade you for that. Okay, so the base is 3 inches wide and 2.5 inches in this direction. Okay, and that's cool. And then it also has that diamond shaped hole in the middle of it, so I'm going to add that to this part too here. So I'm going to do a construction line from midpoint to midpoint, and then I'm going to draw a diamond, which is 3 sides, and I'm going to have it start there and come to there, and then I'm going to pull up a dimension, and this had a width of 1 inch, and it was 400 thousandths from the edge. And you'll notice that all my lines are black except for that dimension that's highlighted. So all my sketch lines are black. That means that they are all fully defined. Okay, so this is the base of the part. So we'll come up here and we'll extrude that by closing the sketch. And how thick are we? We are 1/2 inch thick. Again, my standard at my office is I put everything symmetric about the origin. Notice that the origin is in the center of my part. It helps me when I'm doing mates. If I want to mate to the center part, it makes it a lot easier if I can mate to an existing plane and I don't have to create one. Again, it's not part of the exam. I didn't tell you where to orient your part to. I just wanted you to draw it based on the drawing. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select this surface here and put that raised part on. So we'll do another extruded boss, bring that close to us, and then we're going to come off of here, come up, over, up, down, over, don't know where it is, down, and then back up to the top. Okay, so there's our basic shape. I'm going to get rid of that and bring in a circle. There are more than one ways to do things. You could do a full circle, do a cut. You could do a radius on each corner. This is just the way I like to do it. Okay, so I made these lines here tangent to each other, so they've got a nice smooth radius going around there. Okay, this line here is on an angle, so we'll grab it and give it a horizontal call out. And then we want these two lines here to be collinear. Okay, what are we missing? Okay, we're missing a 1/4 inch radius in the middle, so we'll do our radius, do a 1/4 inch, select this one and this one, and say OK by hitting the right mouse. There's also a hole in the center of that, and it's concentric to that outside edge. You know that because there was no dimension. Oh, look at it. Oh, there is one up there. Okay, so for a minute there I thought I didn't give you a dimension on drawing. That has been known to happen before. Okay, so now we got our shape, so now let's add our dimensions to get everything in where we want. This had a diameter of 375. You can't tell that, it was 380 rounded up because 2 decimal points. This has a radius of a ½ inch, and from here to here is 1 inch, and these dimensions are all taken directly off of the drawing. And then, okay, I'm going to do this one differently. There's a couple ways you can do this dimension. Okay, I'm going to grab that radius and this bottom down here, and you notice that goes to the center point. However, the dimension in the drawing has that going to the outside edge, so we can come over here to our leaders and take that to maximum, and that put it out to the outside edge, and that had a dimension of 2 inches. Okay, that's one way to dimension that. A little bit trickier way to do that is if we delete that, not delete that. Okay, I know. If we delete this dimension, and we're still in our dimension, if you can get it to grab that dot right there in the center of that and come up here, it gives you the same thing. But I find it easier to grab the radius and the edge and then change it to maximum or minimum depending on which way you want. Okay, so we got everything dimensioned here. Why is it still blue? Because it can still move up and down. We're not fully defined. So there's several ways we can fully define this. We can grab a center line, come off the origin, go to the center point, and then make that line, make sure it's horizontal, it's close enough that it's snapped to horizontal, and everything is black. If you don't want to do that, another way to do it is to grab that center point and the origin and tell that to make those two horizontal, and everything's black. Black is good when you're doing your drawings. It just, when you got to come back through and make alterations later, it's much easier if everything is fully defined. That way you control where your shapes are going. Okay, so we got everything in there, so now we'll close the sketch, and we want the extrusion go in the other direction, so we change the direction, and it is how far? It's a ½ inch, so it's there. We want it to merge, and there's the raised portion of our block. Now the only thing we'll have to do is our counter bore around that triangle, so we'll select that surface, we'll do a cut, and we'll grab that surface, right mouse click, select loop. Okay, you'll notice the loop is going around that side. That's not what we want. We want the loop going around the triangle, so we hit that yellow arrow, and now it's going around that. We'll do an offset, and that offset is 200 thousandths, so we'll do a 0.2, and we want the offset to the outside. And we also need a radius of 0.1 in the corner, so we'll do our radius tool, do 0.1, and select that point, that point, that point, and say OK, close our sketch, and that goes down 1/4 inch, so 0.250, and we're done. So that is the first block. If we put it into a where's my views at? Where are my views at? One of my palettes are missing here. Standard views, it says it's there. Oh, here we go. No, that's pattern. Where is my views at? Standard views. Okay, we'll do it the hard way. I want to look at a okay, so this is where you guys may have been confused with the changing of the 2016 to 2017. I'm missing that's the one I want, view. I want to change this so that we can see through the thing. There we go. So you can see the counterbore going through and the hole going through, and it matches everything in the drawing. Okay, so there's the first part. We'll go back to a solid with the edges, and we'll do a save. Do a save, and there's the block. That was the one that I did for the exam, so I'm just going to do a block one, and that was it. And then you would submit that file. Okay, so next we have the bottle, and I think a lot of you struggled with this bottle, and I apologize if it was harder than I thought it would be. If you see the hint down here, use the loft command. So I'll show you how I had intended on that bottle to be made. Hopefully you don't smack your forehead and say, well, duh. Okay, so we're going to start with a sketch. We'll start this one on the top plane, and I'm going to start with the bottom of the bottle, and I'm just going to do a sketch, and we're going to have I should have changed the number on that, so I didn't. So I'm going to select the shape, come over to pattern, right mouse click, go to edit polygon, and the bottom of that has 6 sides. Okay, I don't want 2 of them, just want the one. So I'm going to take this edge and make it horizontal, and there's a dimension across the edges of 3.4 inches. So there's our first sketch. Okay, that's symmetric. I gotta get rid of some of these icons. I'm not used to that many. Okay, so now I want to do the midpoint sketch where we go from 5 sides to 6 sides. So I'm going to grab the top, and holding the control button, I'm going to drag that up and create another plane, and that sketch is 2.5 inches apart. And we know this because on the drawing here we see this division line between the two, the 5 sides and the 6 sides is 2.5 inches. So by bringing that up 2.5 inches, we will call, where'd my mouse go? There it is. We'll call that good, and then we'll do a sketch on this plane. Bring it orthogonal to the surface, and this time we want 5 sides, and we'll grab that and come out, and we'll make this one here horizontal, and do a dimension from there to here, because that's the dimension given in the drawing at 3.2 inches, and we'll call that one good. And then our next point of reference is up here. It's hard to show that in the sketch because of the radius in the corner there, but that was intended for that to be the transition point between the 5 sides and the circle at 2 inches. So we need another reference plane, 2 inches. So we're going to grab that, and with the control button and the left mouse, drag up and give a dimension of 2 inches over here, and hit enter, and OK, accept that, and we'll do another sketch, and I need that to change. Okay, and then we're going to do a circle with the center point in the middle of the origin, and we'll do a dimension of what is that? Looks like the OD is 1.48 inches. Okay, so there's our 3 profiles, or the profile sketches. Now we need a path sketch. So I'm going to do a sketch on the right plane, and I'm going to do a point there, to a point there, to a point there, and those are all on the right plane, but they're not blue. So I'm going to grab that and this and go to pierce. Just make sure that it pierces that line on the right plane. Grab that point, this line, and this one. And if you didn't do this part, it will most likely still create the bottle for you. I'll do it both ways, with the path and without. Um, but and I'll show you the difference. Okay, so there we go. And these planes are annoying to me, so I'm going to right mouse click on them and hide them. So you just go over to the feature tree, right mouse and hide. So now we got our sketches. Now we'll do a loft. So we go to our features, loft, and our profiles. We got this one, and this one. And you see we got our bottle. And now I'm not sure. I know in earlier versions it makes a difference if you have the profile sketch or not. Where is my profile? Oh, there it is. So see, it changed it a little bit. So again, that's the way I modeled it for the test, was with the profile line. It's kind of a goofy looking bottle, going from 6 to 5 to 0. The intention was to see if you knew how to use the loft command. And then from here we need to add the round top, so we'll just do an extruded boss, and we'll just pull off that surface. Oh wait, we don't want that because it multi-circles. So we'll do a circle here, the center point, and bring it out concentric to that, or co-radial to that. Difference being, I like, if I can, to get one full circle rather than a pieced one. Mostly because when I import it into something like Gibbs Cam, there's a possibility that in Gibbs it would interpret that as 5 different surfaces added together, and it's not what I want, and it's hard to get. So by making it a solid line, it'll give me a solid surface in Gibbs Cam. So we got our surface, and then we want to extrude that, so we'll close our sketch, and that came up, what's that, 4, so that'd be about 0.8. Let's see if my math is right. So the distance from here to here should be 5.3 inches, and that's what it says down here, is 5.3 inches. So nextly we got a fillet in here, so we'll pull out our fillet tool. The fillet radius is not given. Dang, I missed the fillet radius. Okay, my bad. So let's just put one to make it look somewhat like the drawing. So we'll go 0.5, and you notice it just went ahead and it's got the tangent propagation, so it goes around. We'll call it good. So my bad if you didn't do the fillet. I guess there's not much I can do about it because the dimension wasn't given on the drawing. I missed one. I'm so sorry. Okay, so now we got that, so we'll collect this surface here, and we'll go back to our feature and find the shell mode, and with a wall thickness of 0.1, and call it good, and there's our bottle. You can see in here that distance is 100 thousandths, because we did the shell. So anyway, that was the bottle. So we'll save this one as a bottle, and we'll give it an underscore of 1. And then the final part in it was this little post. It's just the intention on this part was to see if you could use a revolve. So we'll do another simple part, do the front section, and this time we're going to do the revolve. I'm going to start with a center line going through the origin. Okay, so this is going to be fun. So let's start with, I'm going to do another center line from here up, and then we're going to take this guy and start here and do a circle to there, and bring it over there and grab these two lines and make them tangent. Okay, and then from there we got a whole bunch of straight lines. So from there we got this going down and then going over and then going up and then going over and then going down and then going down to there, and then to be a revolve we have to have a closed line, and I missed it, so we'll just grab that and drag him back on top of there. Okay, now we'll start adding some dimensions. Bring up our dimension tool, and if we select the center line, we can select this guy here that had a diameter of 1.75. This had a radius of 1.25. This had a diameter, yeah, I know, it would have been a lot easier if I would have done all the diameters first before going to the radius, but I only had the two diameters. So now if we go from here to here was 2 inches, this to this was 45 degrees, and from there to there that line had a 0.3, but it says the other way. Okay, you're right, but it's 45 degrees, so it's the same whether I dimension. Stop it. The horizontal or vertical leg. Actually, if we do this and come up here, we still got the 0.3, but now it matches the drawing. And then this here is 0.5, and from here to here is 30 degrees, and overall length is 4.75. Okay, but we still got blue lines. Why do we got blue lines? Well, because you haven't anchored it to anything. So anchor it. Okay, so let's take, and at this point it really doesn't make much difference. We'll take that line and make them vertical. Now we're all black, and we still have our axes available to us, and that should be it. Everything is dimensioned, everything's black, everything's cool. We close our sketch. We revolve around 360 degrees, but it doesn't know which one to do because we got two different lines, so it doesn't. So we'll just come down here and pick this one and call it good. And there's our knob. Looks right. And that was it. And we'll save this as, oh sorry, a post, not a knob, a post. One. And that was it. So those are the three parts that we were to make. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.